Thank you for tuning in to another episode of InRange, a completely viewer-supported project via Patreon by viewers like you. I'm coming to you today from Lincoln, New Mexico. And when people think of Lincoln, they think of Billy the Kid. And there's a good reason for that. But Billy's story didn't start here. Billy was born in the fall of 1859, probably in New York City, to Catherine McCarty. She was married to a man named Patrick, and unfortunately, he passed away, and she moved all the way to Santa Fe, New Mexico in an attempt to deal with tuberculosis. It was a common thing at the time to deal with tuberculosis, to move to drier climates, Tucson, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Arizona, because it helped dry out your lungs and hopefully extend your life. While she was there, she married a new man named William Antrim, and they moved to Silver City, New Mexico. Unfortunately, Catherine died in 1874, and William didn't care very much about taking care of her children, including little William H. Bonney. And he left to be a gambler and miner on the Arizona border, leaving William and his brothers to fend for themselves. Fending for yourself is a difficult thing at the age of 15, and William was caught stealing some clothes and some pistols and some food in the local Silver City community and was arrested for those crimes. William didn't know what to do with himself, and he actually broke free, which is a whole other story in and of itself, and headed west to Arizona to get away from the charges that were going to be placed against him. He landed up killing a man in self-defense in Fort Grant, Arizona, another story for another day, and in that fear, stole a horse and rode back to New Mexico. However, he returned the horse. A common trend with Billy the Kid, you'll find out more about that later. He landed up back in New Mexico, wandering, lost, not sure what to do, found himself associated with a number of cattle rustlers and cattle thieves, and it was a way to make do. He didn't know what else to do with himself. Along with doing that, he started stealing some cattle from a local rancher named John Tunstall, and ironically, legend has it at least, that through the process of stealing that cattle, John Tunstall became his friend and landed up employing him and a number of the rustlers as cowboys for his ranch, as well as to provide security detail. Lawrence Murphy, an Irishman, became a relatively successful cattle rancher here in the Lincoln County area, but he teamed up with James Dolan, a known member of the Santa Fe Ring and corrupt attorney, and somewhat associated with politicians, to form the Murphy-Dolan cattle ranching operation, and they built this rather imposing two-story structure you see behind me, the biggest one here in Lincoln Town, commonly referred to as the house, as the headquarters of the Murphy-Dolan operation. They used their connections with the Santa Fe Ring and their corruption to garner contracts with the local government for supplying cattle, beef, and other supplies to the military. John Tunstall, an Englishman, decided he wanted to try his life on the frontier and came here to Lincoln County to start his own cattle ranching operation. His store is actually just a couple blocks down the street. He didn't realize, however, he was coming into direct opposition and conflict with the Murphy-Dolan clan and their lock with corruption over the local cattle trade. This instigated a conflict that not only was one of politicians, corruption, but also the ages-old ire between the Irish and the English. It was in a location much like this, but not this specific one, in a field much like you see behind me, on February 18th, 1878, that Sheriff Brady and men complicit with him, hired by the Santa Fe Ring and the Murphy-Dolan clan, used their power to assassinate and kill John Tunstall and take out their opposition in the cattle trade in the Lincoln County area. William H. Bonney and Dick Brewer were witnesses to this murder and saw their friend and their employer be killed over nothing more than government corruption. They used the power of Alex McSween, who was John Tunstall's attorney, and his associations with the Justice of the Peace to be deputized and get warrants in their pockets to go after the men that murdered their friend, John Tunstall. At this point, they called themselves the Regulators, and this is what is the beginning of the Lincoln County War. April 1st, 1878, the Regulators are staying in John Tunstall's store, trying to decide what to do after the assassination of their boss and friend, John Tunstall. They see Sheriff Brady and a number of his deputies hitch their horses at the house, the two-story imposing structure owned by the Murphy-Dolan clan, and they realize this is their chance to get some revenge. They go to the back of the Tunstall store, and there's an adobe wall there, and they burrow some holes in it and place their rifle barrels through those holes, waiting for their chance. Sheriff Brady's seen with his deputies walking east down Lincoln Street. Sheriff Brady himself holding the rifle that he stole from Billy the Kid on the day that John Tunstall was assassinated. Billy and the Regulators open fire and hit Sheriff Brady with over 12 rounds immediately, and Deputy Hindman. Sheriff Brady and Hindman fall to the ground. Sheriff Brady says, "Oh Lord," and then another fusillade of fire comes out, killing him immediately on the spot. The other deputies realize that they're in an extended gunfight here and flee to different positions around the town, the Torion and other houses, to return fire from defensive positions. It's quiet. Hindman is screaming for water. Another fusillade of fire kills him. Then it's quiet again. Billy the Kid and Big Jim French decide to go search the body of Sheriff Brady, not only to recover the rifle that Billy the Kid wanted back from his friend, John Tunstall, but to search for warrants for their arrest. They get to the middle of the street, Big Jim French providing cover, and Billy the Kid stoops over to search the body, and a fusillade of fire comes from their opposition, the deputies that had not been hit. One of the two or both of them were struck by the fire. Not mortally, but they were wounded and realized they could not continue to search the body. They hobble back to the protection of the adobe wall. Now, it's unclear if Billy the Kid himself was wounded sufficiently that he could not mount a horse, or Big Jim French was wounded enough that he could not mount a horse, but one of them could not mount a horse. All of the remaining regulators get on horses and skedaddle out of town. Now, there's two narratives. Either Billy the Kid or Big Jim French were hidden under the floorboards in what was the living quarters of John Tunstall in the building behind me. And he waited there while the rest of the deputies searched for him, looking for him, knowing that they were going to kill him if he found him. He was down there so long with a tourniquet around his leg, potentially bleeding out, hidden in the darkness with a couple cans of food and a revolver, hoping that they wouldn't find him. And they didn't find him. He was able to escape and get back to the regulators. Now, whether that was Billy the Kid or it was Big Jim French, depends on if you believe in the historian Frederick Nolan or Nora True Helm, another author, both of which present two different topics or different views of the particular narrative. In the Frederick Nolan narrative, Big Jim French was hit in the leg and was hidden under the floorboards. In her narrative, it was Billy the Kid headed under the floorboards, and Big Jim French was wounded while trying to escape from town, shot in the stomach by one of the deputies with a rifle from the Torion. This is just the beginning of the Lincoln County War, and much more bloodshed is to come. Guys, if you like this kind of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It is only you, the viewer, that supports this channel. It's not sponsored or advertised or monetized in any way besides you. If you can't, we understand. Subscribe to the channel and share with your friends, because it's only you that get this video out to people to see it, because YouTube won't do it for us. Thank you very much for watching.